Good evening, and my name is Eric Owusu Apia. I'm a computer science student with cybersecurity at Ghana Communication Technology University, and I'm going to take you to what is called C++. So in this chapter, you learn how C++ was introduced, learn why we should use C++, then the difference between C++ and C, and learn the object-oriented concept of what C++. Okay. So C++ was originally created by Stroop in 1979. Later it was later commercialized in 1985. Okay, so C++ was evolved from C. So when you see C++, the mother language is C. Okay, C++ was developed from C. Okay, so it is used in every computer system. Any computer system, whether the banking system, like any computer system, any system that has computation in it, you can use the C++. You can find a C++ program there. Okay, C++ is an object-oriented program. It is a compiled language and is universally usable modular programs. Other programs from various platforms. Various platforms can include the Linux, the Mac, the Windows, the Ubuntu, any platform that you like. It is portable in any platform. Okay, it's an object-oriented programming. We talk about object-oriented programming. Identify components what objects. Specify relevant data and possible operations to be performed on that data. Each object consists of data and operations on the data. So an object combines data and operations on the data in a singular unit. So you cannot have an object without data and what? You cannot have a singular unit without having an object and the data. So because they operate together. Do you understand? Yeah. So a programming language that implements OOD. The OOD stands for Object Oriented Design. Or you can say Object Oriented Language. It is the base for designing objects or data in the C++ language. Okay. So you learn how to represent data in computer memory, how to manipulate data, and how to implement operations. Right? You also learn how to write algorithms and implement them in a programming language. So algorithms basically are blueprints of blueprints our solution to a problem. Okay, you learn how to write them in a programming language. Okay, so you learn how to combine data and operations on the data into a single unit called an object. So combining data and operations on the data is what into a single unit is called an object. C++ was designed to implement OOD, that is what object-oriented design. Okay, that is the base for all designs in the C++ language. So OOD is used with your structured design. Data abstraction, that is creation of classes to describe objects. Data encapsulation for controlled access to object data. Inheritance by creating derived classes, including multiple derived classes. Okay. So polymorphism is a Greek word for multiform. So that is the implementation of instruction. So if you say polymorphism is the implementation of instructions. So it can vary effects during program execution. Yeah. So here this is an example of a C++ language. Here is a text. Here is called a text. Hashtag include IOStream, username space standard std, int main, and cout enjoy yourself with C++. And line return 0. Okay, so we'll go through what all of these are in the next page. So to execute a C++ language, that is in the high level language, that is C++, you need an editor. An editor is where you write your codes and they are executed to applications. Okay, so we have different types of editors, such as code blocks. We have CLion by JetBrains, and we have Visual Studio code blocks also. We have a lot of text editors there, but my favorite one is code blocks, which is tailor perfect for C++ and C language. So also you also need a compiler to compile your language, your text into machine language, that's the zeros and the ones. So you have compilers in the C++, we use a compiler called GNU. GNUC compiler. It compiles your text or your English words into what? Machine language words that is able to implement it and execute it perfectly to your specification. So we also have a software development kit, that's the SDK. It may be used to create a program. You understand? Okay. We have the linker. It combines an object program with other programs provided by the SDK to create executable codes. The loader loads executable programs into main memory. The last step is to execute the program. Okay, this is a visual presentation of how a C++ program is. We have the editor, we have the preprocessor, we have the compiler. Compiler contains what? The library, the linker, the loader, and the execution. Okay, so compiler and linking. You run a code through a compiler. If compiler generates errors, look at the code and remove errors. Run code again through compiler. If there are no syntax errors, compiler generates equivalent machine code. Linker links machine code with system resources. Okay. Once compiled and linked, loader can place program into main memory for execution. The final step is to execute the program. The compiler guarantees the program follows the rules of the language. Okay. It does not guarantee the program will run, but it will guarantee you that the program follows the rules of the language. So if you omit an operable, or if you omit certain operations in your text file, the compiler is going to make sure you follow the rules of the language. So in every language, there are rules that are set. If you do not follow the rules, the program is not going to run and you're going to get errors. And through those errors, then you're going to find what you did wrong and you correct them for the program to run. Okay, so let's go to what? Process. Process is a program loaded into a memory with all the resources needed by the program. Each running instance of a program is called what? Process. Each running instance of a program is process. So if a program is running, if an instance in the program is running, it's called what? A process. And each process runs independently also. Okay, so we have a call what? A thread. A thread is a unit of execution with a process. So threads actually allows your program to run multiple. It can run multiple commands. So the program can be running commands multiply. Threads are the one that make sure what it happens, and they are single-threaded processes and what multi-threaded processes. Okay, this is a visual presentation of what threads are. The program starts out as a text file. So when you write a C++ program, write it in English or the language that you prefer. You write it in that, then the compiler what translates it or transfers it into what machine language, so the computer can what execute the file. That's the language the computer understands is binary form, that is the ones and the zeros. So the program is loaded into memory. The program becomes one or more running processes. Processes are typically independent of what? One another. So you can have your program running, another program is running, another program is running, another program is running. These are what we call processes. They're typically independent of one another. And thread exists as a subset of a process. Threads also communicate with each other easily than processes can. Okay, so at the end of this video, we are going to show you how to run a code on the text editor called code blocks. So here we head over to code blocks, and we are going to create our first file. So we go on new, we go on project, we go to console application, then you go to next. The language we are writing we are using a C++. So project title, let's see my first project. Then the GNU GCC compiler is what I'm going to use to compile the text into machine language level. So you press on what? Finish. Then you have your file created. So you go to resources, then you go to main.cpp. This is where your main files are what executed. So as I said, this is the preprocessor. Without it, you cannot execute this command. You need to include the input output stream. There is using the namespace std. Namespace std is the standard library. So anytime you use namespace std, any extension you use from the C++ language, it is included here. Okay. So here we have our int main with the brackets. Then this is the command. This is what you use to command the program to print what we want and what we want to see. So let us rewrite the code again. So we start with hash include what iOS stream. Then hash include what using namespace std. You have to bring your operator semicolon. Then int main with your brackets. Then we run our code. So we could be writing something called, so let me reverse it so you get to understand what I'm talking about. So as you can see here, this is how the program is supposed to be like. So you write cout hello world. So let us use this one. So cout my name is Eric. Then press run. So the program hasn't been built yet, so it's about to build. Then our file. So cout my name is Eric Obusu. That is how you, so this is our first line of code in a C++. Thank you very much and see you in the next one.